In this video, we discuss why your phone costs more every year. Every year, you walk into a store, you look at the new phone, and you feel the same shock. How did this get so expensive? Last year's model was already costly, but this year, it's even worse. And here's the strange part. Your old phone still works. It still sends messages, it still makes calls, it still runs apps. So why does the price keep climbing? Is it really because the phone is better? Or is something else happening behind the scenes? Because if this was only about technology, prices should be going down, not up. Think about TVs. Think about storage. Think about internet speeds. Better tech usually becomes cheaper over time, but phones don't follow that rule anymore. And once you see why, you'll never look at phone prices the same way again. Pause for a second. Look at the phone in your hand. It's not just a device, it's a product of psychology, of strategy, of systems designed to extract more money from you every year. And that story starts with how phones used to be sold. Years ago, phones were simple. They made calls, they sent texts. That was it. The upgrades were obvious. Better battery, smaller size, clearer screen. You could feel the improvement, and prices reflected that. But then something changed. Phones stopped being tools and became identities. Suddenly, your phone said something about who you were, what brand you chose, how new your model was, how often you upgraded. And once companies realized that, pricing stopped being about cost. It became about perception. Because most people don't buy phones rationally, they buy emotionally. Let's be honest, when a new phone launches, you don't ask, "Do I need this?" You ask, "What's new? What's better? What am I missing?" And companies are very good at making you feel like you're missing something, even when you're not. Every year, the marketing looks familiar. Best camera ever, fastest chip we've ever made, revolutionary design. But if you look closely, the changes are smaller than they seem. A slightly better camera, a slightly faster processor, a slightly brighter screen. Incremental upgrades. Yet the price jumps significantly. Why? Because pricing is no longer tied to improvement. It's tied to what people are willing to pay, and that willingness is carefully engineered. One major reason phones cost more every year is something called price anchoring. Here's how it works. A company releases a very expensive model, let's say $1,200. That number sets the anchor. Now, when you see a phone for $900, it feels reasonable. Not cheap, but reasonable. Even though $900 would have felt insane 10 years ago. The expensive model exists not just to sell, but to make everything else feel affordable. And once people accept the new anchor, prices never go back down. Next year, the anchor moves again, a little higher, and you follow it. Another reason prices keep rising is because phones are no longer sold as standalone products. They're sold as ecosystems. Your phone connects to your watch, your earbuds, your laptop, your tablet. Once you're inside an ecosystem, leaving becomes painful. Your apps, your data, your accessories, they all work best together. So companies know something important. You're not just buying a phone, you're buying into a system. And systems create lock-in. Lock-in reduces competition, and reduced competition allows higher prices. Even when alternatives exist, switching feels costly, not financially, emotionally, and that gives companies pricing power. But there's another layer, a layer most people never think about. Phones are not designed to last as long as they could, not because engineers can't make them last, but because long-lasting products hurt repeat sales. So instead, phones are optimized for upgrade cycles, batteries that degrade, software updates that slow older devices, repairs that are expensive or difficult. Nothing obvious, nothing illegal, just enough friction to make upgrading feel easier than fixing. And when millions of people upgrade every year, prices don't need to be fair, they just need to be accepted. and acceptance is created through social pressure. Think about how often you see phones in public, at work, on social media. New models become status symbols. Even if no one says it out loud, everyone notices who has the new phone, who doesn't. And humans are wired to avoid feeling left behind. So companies don't just sell hardware, they sell relevance. They sell belonging. They sell the feeling of being current. And feelings are expensive. Now let's talk about something uncomfortable. Many people don't actually buy their phones anymore. They finance them. Monthly payments, carrier plans, upgrade programs. When the cost is spread out, the price feels smaller. $30 a month doesn't feel like $1,000. And when prices are hidden inside subscriptions, people stop comparing. They stop asking if it's worth it. They just keep paying. This shift changed everything. Once companies realized they could raise prices without immediate resistance, they did. Slowly, consistently, every year. And because upgrades feel normal, no one panics until they look back and realize how expensive it's become. Another factor is market maturity. Smartphones are no longer new. Most people already have one. That means companies can't rely on new users. They rely on existing users upgrading. And when growth slows, prices rise, because revenue still has to increase. Shareholders still expect growth, and raising prices is easier than finding new customers. So instead, they sell more phones with higher margins and fewer truly affordable options. Now let's talk about manufacturing. Yes, some costs have increased. Advanced chips, camera systems, research and development. But here's the key point. Production costs have not increased at the same rate as retail prices. The gap between cost and price has widened, meaning profit margins are higher than ever. So when companies say prices are rising because phones are more advanced, that's only part of the truth. The real reason is leverage, brand leverage, ecosystem leverage, behavioral leverage. They know how you think. They know how you decide and price accordingly. Think about this. If phones were sold purely on value, you'd see dramatic price drops after a few years. But instead, old models stay expensive, not because they cost more to make, but because lowering prices would break the illusion. If last year's phone suddenly cost half as much, you'd question this year's price. So prices are protected, carefully, strategically. Even discounts are controlled. And that brings us to the most important reason your phone costs more every year. You keep buying it. Not because you're foolish, but because the system is designed that way. The marketing, the pricing, the financing, the social pressure, it all works together. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. This doesn't mean phones are bad or the technology isn't useful. It means you should understand what you're paying for. Sometimes you're paying for features, sometimes for convenience, sometimes for status, and sometimes you're paying for habit. The takeaway is simple. Phones are no longer priced based on cost, they're priced based on psychology. And as long as people accept annual upgrades and rising anchors, prices will keep climbing. The power shift happens when consumers become intentional, when you stop upgrading automatically, when you keep a phone longer, when you separate want from need. Because the most expensive phone is the one you didn't need to buy. If this video helped you see phone pricing differently, subscribe to my channel for more simple explanations about money, habits, and how the system really works. Like the video if it made you think. Thanks for watching.